Why are Britain's poorest families still feeling so left behind? On paper, pay is rising, but for millions, disposable income is not. Analysis shared with ITV News reveals how some parts of the population are lagging in international comparisons. The spending power of the lowest 10% of earners is less than that in Germany, Malta and Slovenia. It is prompting households here to take desperate measures simply to make ends meet. One mother told us she's skipping meals so she can feed her children. In this special report, our economics editor Joel Hills visited South Yorkshire, where he found all too often money runs out long before the end of each month.
Schoolthorpe Community Playgroup in Doncaster. The children here have been born in the 6th largest economy in the world. Britain is a rich nation, but its wealth is not evenly shared and life on a low income is hard.
By the time you've got paid all your bills, your food, you've got nothing left really.
Gabby and Becky have been friends since primary school. Between them, they have 6 children. They are both single mothers and both rely on benefits. Benefits which sometimes don't cover the bare essentials.
As a mum, you eat 1 meal instead of your 3 meals a day. Some days I don't eat.
To make sure that the kids get food.
Yeah. As long as your kids get fed, you're all right.
Analysis by the National Institute of Economic and Social Research shows that living standards for the UK's poorest 10% are lagging behind those of their counterparts in other countries. Although the average person has a disposable income that is £1,000 a year higher than someone on a low income in Italy, they are significantly worse off than the average person in Germany or France. And those living in the poorest parts of the UK are now poorer than those in the poorest parts of Slovenia, Malta and Ireland. Britain is slipping behind.
That's exactly the evidence that I'm seeing. Years ago, we would never have had families going to food banks.
Janice Jinks is unsurprised. Her playgroup is run by volunteers and charges just £1.50 a session. But you get the sense she'd never turn anyone away.
Society should not be in this position where there's so much deprivation.
And to be clear, 30 years ago, this wasn't happening.
No, we never had funding and having to give electric blankets out and slow cooker at all. You never heard of food bank. And people you would never expect, working people, are having to access food banks.
The report states that a key factor driving down living standards for low-income households is the changes to the benefit system since 2010.
I remember panicking, thinking I'm going to end up on the street because I can't afford to pay my rent.
Lucy Robinson is a student. She and her 4-year-old rely on universal credit, which doesn't cover the cost of living. Lucy was paying £200 a month more than her housing benefit for accommodation with crumbling walls and damp. This charity in Doncaster helped to find her council accommodation.
I was going without new shoes and having to wear shoes that had holes in them for 6 months or so, to make sure that we were on top of bills and she had the things she needed.
The other problem is prices in Britain have often been rising faster than pay in recent years, and at Doncaster Market they'll tell you inflation is still a problem.
I have sleepless nights every week. Prices just go up.
Our electric is horrendous.
Oh, electric.
In the decades running up to the global financial crisis, Britain experienced strong, sustained wage growth. But then in 2008, pay packets adjusted for inflation suddenly stopped rising. Had wage growth continued in line with the pre-2008 trend, the average worker in the UK today would be £12,000 a year better off. NISA's analysis suggests wage stagnation is mainly a UK problem and that living standards in other countries are overtaking ours. We need to lift economic growth.
Number one is just with better investment in the economy. Over the last 10 years, we've seen a general slowdown in the investment in the economy, and that chimes with weaker productivity, weaker growth, weaker pay packets. Second to it, though, is also planning. It's enabling companies to expand when they want to expand, to hire new people and to generate better growth and better pay packets.
The government has backed airport expansion as a means of reviving our prosperity. In Doncaster, the City Council's using £100 million of taxpayer money to reopen the city's airport.
So this is check-in, Joel.
The terminal building has been closed since November 2022, when some travel still required a COVID test and when the previous owner decided the airport wasn't viable. The hope is to lure back the likes of TUI and Wizz and open next year.
You're spending £100 million of taxpayers' money reopening an airport that the private sector refused to touch. This is a huge risk, isn't it?
It's a calculated risk, and we haven't gone in this lightly. I think the fact that, the likes of Jacob, Ernst & Young, Munich, there are some big companies associated with our technical expertise. It's in the right location, in the right place. It will work.
If the council's gamble pays off, then in the long term this project will create up to 12,000 new jobs in aviation, tourism, logistics, retail and engineering. And in anticipation of the opening, a private company has built a giant new warehouse opposite the airport and put it up for rent. Doncaster has experienced economic booms before. If you look closely, you can still see the evidence. The age of coal and steam is over and the digital age has begun. Doncaster, like the rest of Britain, is rebuilding and hoping to adapt and prosper. Joel Hills, ITV News.